We're on IG too.
You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the Mark Lesko Podcast here. Talking Penn State, Washington. Sorry about the, it was a little staticky there at the beginning, but joined by Matt from Penn State jerseys, from Jersey, not from Hawaii this time, and Jared Miller from Steelers Central. Jared, welcome back in, man.
Thanks for having me, bud.
Matt, how you doing?
Good, man.
We didn't even talk about the Ohio State game, but, we're pretty well past that. I would like to get a bit of your thoughts on that game, but, we get the win tonight. Could have put up 40 there at the end, which is good. But overall, just a dominating game. Defense looked good. I thought Washington would score more points. But, overall, man, it was just a good game. I think if Tyler Warren doesn't fumble that ball, we end up maybe hitting 40. And Matt jumped off. I'm sure he'll be back on. But, yeah, so overall, good performance. I mean, I'm happy about it. I mean, this is, after last week, this is probably the least excited I've ever been about a whiteout. Just because of, the tough loss last week. But, we did good tonight, and that's the defending national champion appearance. That's the defending national champion appearance team. You still got some of those guys on that team, and we dominated them. It was really no question about it that we just dominated that team totally. So, Matt, can you hear us? Okay.
Yep.
All right. You want to go? You want to give your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much as expected. I mean, I give the coaching staff credit because obviously anytime you come off an emotional loss and,
they took care of business.
It could have been a game they would have won potentially in a lot more sloppy manner, but they were very crisp.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was both sides of the ball. You don't not show up.
He's a little delayed there.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, I think they did what they needed to do, and I think it was a game. Like I said, they came out really sharp. I give the coaching staff a lot of credit because obviously, when you come off a tough loss, could have had a real sloppy win. But and this also too, I'm not sure. Obviously losing Hakeem Beamon this week on short notice, a little bit thinner along the defensive line. Defensive line played really well. Secondary played really well. And like I said, they were just on their keys tonight. So I give the coaching staff a lot of credit for just playing a good, clean, crisp game. There's no injuries. And we move on to next week because really, I mean, Mark, what this team's success or failure this season is going to come down to really like where they're seated, right? Because if they can get themselves where in the second round, they're playing the ACC champ or the Big 12 champ, then they're probably going to wind up going to the Final Four. So, in order to do that, right, you're probably going to have to stay at 6 because if you're the 6th seed, you're playing the 11, and then you're playing the 3 seed, which is going to be the ACC champ or the Big 12 champ. Because the SEC champ is going to be the number 1 seed, the Big 10 champ is going to be the number 2 seed. So, to me, it's imperative that Penn State stays at number 6. or at least finishes at number 6. Otherwise, they're probably, yeah, it just gets really hairy with the seeding. I wouldn't be, because yeah, it's tough, man. Like, I'm looking at some of these mock brackets, and again, this season is going to come down to a crapshoot, right? Like, who they're seated around rather than just what the highest seed is, because the highest seed may not be necessarily the easiest path. So therein will lie the other black box of college football, not necessarily the committee, but where they're seated and what their path looks like.
Yeah, so pretty much like you just said, Matt, what it's going to come down to is, because Georgia went down, Miami went down, but I don't think we're going to move much in the playoff seeding, because it's top 5. For those of you that still don't understand, it's top 5 highest conference champions, and then the next 7. So we're not going to move much. I mean, we did what we had to do tonight, and then we got SEC's up in the air. ACC probably going to be Miami or I guess Clemson, no matter what. So, there's definitely room for some upsets. There was room for upsets today. They happened. I thought Miami might lose. I thought Georgia might lose. And then, with the playoff seeding overall, like you said, it's what it's going to come down to. And how that's going to play out, I don't know. I think we might be looking at, I think the highest we can go at this point is 6, unless Ohio State loses.
Yeah. Well,
again.
I mean, Miami lost today and Georgia lost today. I mean, that's 2 losses for Georgia. And then Georgia also, as well, they still got to play Tennessee. I mean, who knows? I mean, you have Georgia with, I think on film when they've been at their best has looked really good. But then we can literally blink and they have 3 losses and they can be in the outside looking in. And you have BYU that's struggling against Utah, today. I don't think they're that good. But yeah, I mean, listen, Penn State's fate this season is going to come down to them trying to get that number 6 seed. I think they get the 6 seed. They'll be in a good position moving forward. But there's so much, football left to be played. But they don't have any margin for error now with Ole Miss now getting in the picture with a big win, because Ole Miss could theoretically just beat Florida, Mississippi State, and then they're almost kind of in the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
So Penn State does have to be careful the rest of the way, because they cannot afford another loss. I don't think, with Ole Miss winning now and the way some things are playing out in other conferences, that they may not be a shoo-in with 2 losses. I mean, they're going to beat Purdue next week. I don't think that's in doubt. Minnesota's, they're a tough team playing, on the road. They're a decent team. They're well coached. Maryland at home, I don't think they would lose to if they were, if they only had 1 loss at that point in time. But, to me, that this season is just going to come down to this Minnesota game in 2 weeks. And if they can win that, they're in good shape. If not, then I'm telling you right now, they may miss the college football playoff. Just the way the things are shaking out with other teams in other conferences and who's left on their schedule and what it looks like.
Who do you think gets left out?
I think if Penn State loses another game, they have I think they potentially could be left out. I would be real nervous. Do I think they could sneak in? Possibly, but they would need some other stuff to happen, right? Like they would, we would need a little bit of a chaos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big picture right now. As I said, we did what we were supposed to do, and looking at the playoff right now. We're probably looking at like Tennessee or Alabama being the SEC champion, but then there's Georgia too, who beat Alabama, and then you have Tennessee who beat Alabama. So the SEC is kind of shaken up right now. The usual suspects will get in no matter what. Big Ten wise, it's also Ohio State and Oregon, and Notre Dame, Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss is going to move up now. Indiana, they're certainly going to be, I think they're going to be in it. and I think they have a good shot of beating Ohio State. So pretty much going forward, we want to win out, and we want Ohio State to lose one more time to really put us in the best position, because we could end up being like, because I don't think we can get top 5 no matter what unless we sneak into the, because if Ohio State loses again, I think we get into the Big Ten title game.
No, because
No, Oregon, Indiana.
Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough. I mean, I don't think Ohio State's gonna lose the rest of the way. I mean, Indiana struggled versus Michigan at home. I mean, Ohio State's really gonna do a number on Indiana, I think. Just personally, and then I think Indiana. Problem is Indiana's schedule is just strength of schedule is just so bad. They're gonna have a hard time, I think. I mean, I hate to say it, like I almost say, like, if they get blown out by Ohio State, is that a situation where maybe they don't make the playoffs at all?
Yeah, well, they shouldn't then, but
I wouldn't be surprised. Just because there's just not much on the schedule to point to. So you're like, hey,
all right. Brett, welcome in. Jared, what did you think of the game? Brett was at the game, so we're gonna get his thoughts too. I don't know if he has a voice right now, but
guys, I gotta step out quick.
All right, yeah, no problem, Matt. Jared, what did you think of the game?
Jared?
I mean,
I think you're a little delayed, Jared.
yeah, I felt like we had a lot of important things we needed to address in terms of how we were. Okay, like, can you hear me, guys?
You're breaking in and out a little bit.
Yeah.
No?
Breaking in and out.
Gosh.
I don't know what's going on with him. Well, Brett, there was 4, now there's 2.
Yeah,
yeah.
The only thing I'm upset about is I only saw Corey Smith take one run, and then I left early because I knew it was over. And then it looks like he put up 95 yards. What happened?
Yeah, he came out of nowhere, man. Holy crap.
He just got here in the summer.
Yeah,
he
I know. He's a legit player.
Yeah, he's a good receiver and a running back in high school, so I'm excited about that. The only thing I was a little disappointed with was the third quarter didn't go our way. The holding call on Nick Singleton's touchdown kickoff return was pathetic. It was behind where he even was. It didn't even affect the play at all. It wasn't even really that big of a hold. So that was dumb. Nick Singleton should have had a touchdown there. And then the fumbles happen. I think it's the first time Tyler Warren's fumbled that I've ever seen. So not mad at him for that. Glad we scored in the fourth quarter. The first half, that might have been the prettiest first half we've played in 2 years or 3 years. Think about it. Like last year, we didn't have a first half like that. This year, we certainly have, and everything went our way in the first half. So very happy about that. Drew looked really good. Threw a couple balls away, but he had people on his face.
Mm-hmm.
But he made some really good passes. Wallace had a good game. I wanted Wallace to get 100 yards. He was close. Warren had a good game, obviously, because he's the Mackey Award winner. Let's call it right now. Let's just freaking give it to him, right? Let's stop playing around. Katron Allen looked really good. He got the most of the carries. I think they gave it to Katron more because Katron was hot, and I think Nick is still. I think he has like a shoulder injury or something, like I was saying. So we'd have to see, but he still looks fast. I mean, he ran down the sideline with no problem. Defense, Abdul Carter with another 2-sack game. He was looking great off the edge. Jalen Reed, another interception. Like, we can just pretty much, if we want to bet on a game, 0.5 or 1 interception under over for him, I'm pretty sure we can take the 1 interception because he always gets one. He read that like a book. Yeah, I mean, we stopped a really good running back. What do you have, like 65 yards rushing or something like that? The running game overall for Washington. I don't know. Yeah. Did Will Rogers on Washington get hurt, or did they pull him after he threw the pick? Because he didn't play the rest of the game. I think after he threw that pick, they pulled him.
I don't think he got hurt. Yeah,
no.
But their highest rusher, like you just said, was 38 yards. Yep. They shut down Denzel Boston. He had 35 yards.
Yep.
For those of you that are Steelers fans, Mark Bruner's son was a linebacker for
He's
Washington.
really good. He's good.
Yeah, he is. And then they defense shut them down totally. I mean, they had 60 yards passing, which is absolutely insane.
Desmond Williams is their backup quarterback. That's who was their leading rusher. So that's not a good sign. I mean, he looked pretty good running the ball, but
I didn't think our defense would. I know our defense is good, but man, they totally. We talked about coming out, firing all cylinders, being mad. Well, the defense did that for sure.
Yeah.
And the offense. I mean, the offense. I was saying earlier that if it weren't for Tyler Warren fumbling that one ball, they probably put up 40 points at least.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. I mean, the guy's human. So
it happens.
And Jared, Brett, go ahead, and then Jared, you go after that.
Oh, I was just gonna say the second half, Washington did. They burned a lot of clock. In the third quarter, we barely really touched the ball, so that kind of took us away from scoring more. But other than that, we didn't let them score more than 2 field goals. So, I mean, can't be mad. Go ahead, Jared.
First off, I just want to apologize for whatever reason my Wi-Fi or whatever's not working properly. I have to just throw that out there. I do apologize to people watching. I'm not trying to have any issues, but it just seems like I'm just going in and out of service or something. But hopefully you guys can hear me now. Is it fine now?
Yeah, you're good. Your picture's good. Your sound's good.
Good.
it's I don't know, man. Like we live fairly close to each other.
Right.
So,
we don't, and you don't have any problems at all right now. So I don't know what's going on. So I do apologize for that in advance.
Yeah.
So having said all that, it's all good. So having said all that, I think that it was a great response for last week's game. Ohio State, that was so disappointing. Again, we went on about the officiating. We went on about where was Tyler Warren the whole game. I mean, it was a lot of questions, and of course he shows up in this game. And now Washington as a competitor, that's a different question as opposed to they've got players, they've got good guys, but it's cohesively they're all kind of coming in together. I know that Washington has a lot of transfer guys, there are a lot of young players. It's definitely one of those questions of, did we have enough of a competition to say it was a really good overall performance from anybody? Because someone got hurt, and now we're kind of looking for questions on, does defense they had one of the better performances of their season, but it's was it the best version that they could have been giving? I don't know. There was some sloppiness, I thought, overall in terms of play calling, and there's just some guys that I watched them, and there's no need for the excessive looks of running down the field. I see some guy get a big run, or there's a pass that gets that should have been broken up and doesn't. And it's there are a lot of times where I thought that the defense did not give us a big play until it was absolutely dire. It was they had a third and something or other, and then all of a sudden Abdul Carter just comes out of nowhere and just gets a huge sack. Of course that's always necessary in a big moment, but it's I don't know. I would rather see that every other series than when it's it just seems like there's a lot of questions as opposed to how far could Penn State go with a top 5 team. Now, with all the Georgia and Miami going down, it's now a question of who are those top teams. Is it BYU all of a sudden? Does Alabama have say again because they just completely destroyed LSU? I don't know. I know that we have a lot of questions still about where we are as a whole team, because coaching tonight, I don't know. There's just something about how this game went that there was a lot of frustration. I saw that Penn State had at one point 400 total yards and 23 first downs, only 1 turnover. And then the total yardage for Washington at one point was 181 with 1 turnover, and they had 11 first downs. And yet, at one point, Washington had the ball more than us. I saw that. Time possession was to Washington. Can you explain how a team that has 400 total yards against a 181 and has half of their first downs, but somehow still had more time on the field than us? I don't know. There's just something about how this team is like being coached or disciplined that just, yeah, you can do this against a team like Washington, who again lost like 50, 60 starters. Everyone is again a transfer guy or a young freshman, sophomore, like they're completely on the opposite side of where they were a year ago. So it's definitely a rebuilding team. And I'm not saying we can't take it seriously because, again, they did everything they're supposed to. And that's all I can ask for a Penn State team. But I think we do need to kind of question after, like, what? I mean, they should not have any issues against Purdue. They should not have any issues against Maryland. But Minnesota on the road is probably the last big test that the Nittany Lions team has. So the rest of the season, there should be no reason why this team can't go like 11-1. But like you said, it's all going to come down to where they are put in the top 12. So,
yeah. I was going to say about the time possession thing was crazy. I think it's because they got a couple not even third, they got a couple of fourth downs too that like they should have been off the field. We had a couple penalties that gave them longer drives, so that burned clock. But we're a bend don't break defense. Last year we were suffocating defense. This year we're bend don't break. But look, we gave them 6 points. Like it's pretty good, man. And the whole Minnesota thing, we thought that they were getting better, and then they lost to Rutgers today. So last night or today. So. And Rutgers has been going downhill, so I don't know. Minnesota, whatever type of team we get from them, it could be a tough game. Going there is going to be tough, but overall, we played really well on the road so far this year, so I'm not too worried about that. I think we'll be ready to go. Yeah, overall, with the play calling, overall, like I wasn't worried that we were obviously in trouble at all. We went up 28-0, but yeah, I mean, overall, I think it was a well-coached game. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I want to say this. We lost. Obviously, we all know we lost to Ohio State, and that sucks. But
yeah,
first of all, and it's relevant. Joe never beat Ohio State. He never beat Bear Bryant. He always struggled against Michigan, and that's the winningest coach of all time. Probably the greatest coach to ever walk the face of the earth on any level of any sport, and he barely beat Ohio State. So we came out and we dominated Washington, and it's like, we did what we're supposed to do. I think we proved once again that we're a really good team, and we lost to the best team on our schedule, and it's Ohio State. So is it really that bad that we lost to Ohio State, but we come out and we dominate everyone else? No, it's not. So we're still a really good team. I think we can compete in the playoff if we make it, God willing. We win out. Depending on who we play, I think we can compete with anybody as long as the coaching's there. But yeah, we're still a really good team, and we lost to like one of the powerhouse programs in the country for a long time now is Ohio State. They are absolute powerhouse, and they're just extremely dominant. So if that's your only loss and you dominate everyone else, because we've pretty much taken care of every team on our schedule. One fluke would be Bowling Green, but it is what it is. But I mean, we beat West Virginia convincingly. We beat Bowling Green. We beat Kent State convincingly. Illinois wasn't a contest. UCLA wasn't a contest. USC, we came back. Wisconsin wasn't a contest. Lost to Ohio State, and then Washington wasn't a contest. So overall, like, this team is good, and I think we showed that tonight, and that's it. There's really nothing else to say. I think we proved tonight that we're a good team for sure. And I just wish they could execute that better overall against a good team like Ohio State. But, at the end of the year, man, like, Ohio State has one loss to Oregon. They beat us on the road. Clearly, they're really damn good. So If we lose to them, and then that's kind of tells us, how can we compete against other teams? Well, we probably have a pretty good shot if our only struggle was really Ohio State. So, yeah, because I don't care if it's Washington or not, we dominated them, and they were in the national title last year. They're not a terrible team at all. It's not an easy team to beat, and we just totally dominated them. So, yeah, I mean, going forward, we just got to execute. When we get against these better teams, we have to win out, and then whoever we play. And with Georgia losing today, I just saw that we could run into them. They could be at our house for the first game. And again, I still think this team can compete with anybody in the country. They just got to play like it. And, so I think this performance just solidifies more that, we could probably compete when it counts. I mean, we're not playing Ohio. I don't know if we're playing Ohio State again. I mean, that's our kryptonite. Like USC in 2008. I mean, we played them in the Rose Bowl. I think that was one of the best teams in the country that year. I think they may have been the best team in the country. Like, you take USC, put them in the national title game against Florida or Oklahoma. I think they compete pretty well, if not win. And we ran into them, unfortunately. They ran into the buzzsaw. Now, you take any other team and put them up against us that year, I think we compete a little better. USC, they lost to Oregon State that year, who we dominated at home, and then we run into USC in the Rose Bowl. So it's like this kind of the same thing, I think, where if we don't run into Ohio State again, if we can stay away from like Ohio State or Georgia, I think we got a shot, because I think we can pretty much compete with anybody else. Like even Oregon, I truly do think that against Oregon, as long as our secondary performs, because we haven't been getting much of a rush all year, I think we'd be okay. But, we'll see. But, that's just kind of the picture going forward. But, yeah, I mean, I do think coming out of this game that it's like, clearly we're good. We just lost to Ohio State. So, yeah. Where'd you sit at, Brett?
What's it called? I mean, 40-yard line. Right, pretty much on the field. I mean, there's like 3 rows in front of me, and then there's the railing. So really good seats.
Which side?
For free. On the opponent's side, which sucked, on Washington's side, but it was still good, man. Good seats. Electric atmosphere. It looked like a lot of people were leaving after halftime, and then once you get back in the stadium, after I got a drink and stuff, it still looked pretty packed. So maybe, I don't know. It just looked like people were leaving. Yeah, 110 some change. But yeah, it was a good environment. I mean, my back hurts after sitting on those benches, man. It's never the best. But
yeah, every time I sit on bleachers, my tailbone hurts, and I don't know what it is, man. I think it's just from sitting on bleachers. I did fall off a roof one time when I was in college. And it wasn't very high, but yeah, I like went straight down, landed on my butt, and like didn't get hurt, but I think my tailbone ever since then has been kind of jacked up.
Yeah, you'd think so after that.
Yeah. But yeah. That's the bleachers always get me, man. Like my tailbone hurts. It's so weird. Yeah. Like I don't know, but anyway,
it was annoying. It was annoying because these people on the left of us, they left at halftime. Like you guys they have like the blue seats with like, like the seats that they put there on the bench, so you can like have some support on your back, like the soft blue Penn State seats that you like rent. Me and my buddy went to go like get a drink and go to the bathroom. I'm like, all right, cool. When we get back, we'll have like actual seats to sit on. We come back, some other people were sitting there. I was like, oh, whatever, man. I'm not going to argue with them and say these people said we could sit there. There was more room. I just sat on the bench. But my back was screaming like halfway through.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. Yeah. Like sitting at home, when you go to a game, you realize how small the field is, and like the field does not look big in person at all.
No, it's small.
10 on TV, like it's that small. Aerial view.
Yep.
Yeah, so especially at Beaver Stadium because there's not a lot of sideline. So it just I don't know. I just think it looks better on TV and it's just better experience at home. But to be there during a whiteout and even Beaver Stadium doesn't look that big when you're in it. I don't think it looks.
Yeah,
It's very
pretty big.
condensed.
Yeah,
Like Acrisure, for example. I think that almost looks bigger than Beaver Stadium, even though it's not. But
which one?
Acrisure,
Steelers.
Steelers. And it only holds like what, 70 maybe?
68,000.
Yeah, that's normal for pro. Did you guys
Which
talk
is-
about Julian Fleming's touchdown yet? That's good that he got in there, man. I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's about time.
First
Yes,
touchdown,
sir.
man. Good call, good play call. I'm like, where are the slants at? Because we haven't been throwing slants at all. And like, it's an easy way. Well, they do a couple to Harrison Wallace, but in the red zone, like we didn't call any of that in the last couple games. And like, just give somebody a slant, man. That's a good red zone call.
Yeah, it's Ohio State, like for example, I don't think you're doing that against them, but
No, probably not.
I mean, it just really, I think tonight really speaks about just how good Ohio State is.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
And I'm not taking any credit away from them. Like, they're a dominant team. They totally made us look silly. But I think it just shows, like, man, they're really good. They really are.
Their defense is. I mean, look what they did to Purdue today. Like Purdue's
it's
bad.
insane just the way they perform. I mean, the way they execute, man. Like the way they literally knew everything that we were doing. But,
yeah, they watched the tape, and that's what I mean. Cole Nicky didn't really. I don't know. He didn't switch it up that game. I feel like he called a good game today, man. Like K-Tron looked great.
Yes.
Harrison Wallace, Tyler Warren. Yeah, but K-Tron was looking great. Like a Singleton only got a couple carries. Like I said, probably because K-Tron had the hot hand and can't be mad about it. So.
all right, Jared.
Is he 100% again?
What's your thought?
Nick, do you think Nick?
Yeah,
oh, Nick,
is he 100%?
running wise, he looked. I mean, that kickoff.
I mean, he had that what, like 80-yard run or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Okay, that's true. I mean, I was just saying, like, it felt like if Nick was getting less carries for K-Tron, I mean, it seems like that would be like trying to reserve or whatever, trying to keep him as healthy as possible. So he finally did. You're right. I totally forgot about the one that got returned, because it was a flag and it was, But no,
all right.
For what I think about,
Go ahead, and then I have the bracket pulled up right now of what it's probably going to be.
Yes. So if we're looking at like what the Washington result is, I mean, it is great to know that we can take care of business. I very much enjoy knowing that we can bounce back, be a complete team. Yes, I think Drew Aller overall played a much better game than last week. I mean, what did I see? I think I just looked them up. His Ohio State numbers, I think he was like 20 for 38, and he had like 140 some yard passing, an interception. His QBR had to be somewhere like the 30s. Like I know that teams like Ohio State that have it all going for them, again, recruiting and coaching, I just feel like when you watch how they handle a team like Penn State, it just seems like they know they can be aggressive and they know that they can get out there and like give you something to deal with, because I just don't like the conservative play calling that you get sometimes from guys like Franklin. I don't know if it's like how the offensive coordinator does his play calling or what, but it just seems like whatever they call, Ohio State has an answer 2 plays in advance. I mean, they just seem like they're 1 step or 2 steps ahead of you every time. And again, that just comes from knowing that they have the better players. And again, the better recruiting. I get it. It just seems like you're constantly having to question how to get around that or somehow through that. And what you're looking at is you have to play them tough. And yes, defensively, you never question Penn State's toughness. I'm never suggesting that, well, we didn't show up defensively against Ohio State, because we technically did. But we are also seeing the worst version of a quarterback that I think we've seen at Ohio State for a while. Like, Will Howard did not have a good game at all against the Penn State. Like, I just thought that was one of the worst performances Ohio State quarterback has done against Penn State, but it didn't matter. Like, again, we were just not executing offensively. And it always comes back to the question of how do you find a way to somehow get over that? Because again, like I said, the only way you can beat Ohio State with these types of play calling that they're giving us is if you win 13-10, 10-7, really, really low scoring, because your defense has to play flawlessly. And you can only have like what we had. Like we were at a 10-0 lead against them, and that didn't matter. Like that is a huge problem when you can basically allow another team just to shift momentum in your stadium like they did in that game. Like, again, we're talking about knowing that the coaching does play calling the way it does against teams like that, because what else is there to do? Because, again, Drew Aller was completely taken out of that game. Tyler Warren was MIA for about 80% of that game. I mean, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen had a very respectable game running the ball. Like, it wasn't like completely shut down, but they weren't really making any efforts downfield or getting anything big. And so I know that it's just always going to be about a team and a program like Ohio State are always up on top because everything's going for them, and therefore they know that they can take advantage of what we cannot compete with. Like it's definitely something that they're going to have to address. And recruiting, it's just, you got to find the thing, like a defensive back that can get to the guy, like a linebacker that can rip through a hole and kill, like pressure as best as anyone can. Like there's just that thing that they're missing that puts them in a position to actually find a way to win a big game.
You guys can see this screen, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So this is what we're looking at. Oregon number 1, Texas number 2, SEC. Now, I think that ends up either being Texas or Illinois. Miami. See, Miami's not moving at all. That's what's crazy. BYU, they're not moving. So it's us versus, it's Ohio State versus Boise State. Us versus Bama. Notre Dame, Georgia. Indiana, Tennessee. So if we take this bracket right now, all right, now a couple things about us and Bama. I don't know if we're moving the ball against Bama, and I don't know if we're stopping Jalen Monroe, who, in my opinion, should be pretty heavy in the Heisman race, because he reminds me of Lamar Jackson, the way he moves, the way he plays. Ohio State's beating Boise, Georgia's beating Notre Dame, Tennessee's beating Indiana. So then we're looking at, now how does the second round, I think we're looking at 5 and 12 or 6 and 11, I think would play 6 and 11 would play 3, so we would end up running into Miami.
Miami's SMU's in front of Miami. Miami lost today, so that could be a lost cause at this point. SMU hasn't lost in their conference yet.
Well, who's leading the ACC then?
SMU, because Miami lost it. Yeah, SMU hasn't lost in conference yet, I don't think. Let's see here.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, they're first in the ACC right now.
All right. Well, yeah. That's true. Well, if Miami wins the ACC, which, yeah, I mean, who is going to, like, okay, hold on. Let me get these in order here. We are still a very good and dangerous team, and the way this season has went, college football, nobody is perfect or can't be beat. Yep. Well, if Miami wins the ACC, Miami is just favored. Now, this is Bleacher Report. This is after everything happened. I believe this came out. When did this come out? 4 hours ago. So this is before Penn State won, but this is still what they're predicting. But so what's the ACC look like right now? You said SMU?
SMU is 5-0 in the ACC. Clemson's 6-1. Miami's 5-1. Louisville's 4-2. So I mean, really, Clemson, SMU, and Miami are the top three that you got to watch for. Clemson had one horrible game last week, but they can still be dangerous. I mean, they won. They obviously won today. I forget who they played.
Yeah, and
but,
obviously we've been saying it, but Miami's like incredibly overrated, and
oh,
they'll be ranked accordingly in the playoff because it's the top
Yeah.
5 champions, and then
yeah,
the top 5 champions get a bid at least, and then it's top 7 after that.
yeah.
Now I don't think the fifth conference in terms of dominance gets like the 5th seed. They just get in. So I believe that's what, Boise?
Yep.
I think
Is Boise the
at this
5th one?
point. Yeah, I think so.
All right, so that's why Boise's in. So, yeah, like you got to understand this bracket. To those of you that don't, you have to understand how this bracket works. Just because you're top 12 doesn't mean jack. It doesn't.
Yep.
You have to be top 12 in the playoff. So, Boise, it looks like will be that 5th conference champion, but they're just going to get in as a 12.
12.
Now, let's say SMU takes number 3 and Miami moves down. Miami's going to end up, I don't know, man. They're going to be around like 8 or 9, I think. And that knocks out, potentially Notre Dame gets knocked out. We're not getting knocked out. So Notre Dame, I think, could get knocked out.
Notre Dame destroyed Florida State. I mean, Florida State's terrible, but they won today, so it's hard to know.
Florida State is horrible.
Oh, they're so bad.
God, they're bad.
But they won today, so it's hard to know what's going to happen.
Thanks for the comments, guys. It's good to have you guys back. Kevin, Illicit, and Cost22. Cost22 is an OG. He's been on here for a while. What about the losers of the conference championship games? What do they get? Well, it depends, man, because, you know, like, for example, okay, so Ohio State loses to Oregon in the Big Ten title game. They're not moving. Texas beats Bama, or they beat Tennessee. They're not. They're gonna move into the later round, earlier rounds. Indiana loses to Oregon. I don't know if Indiana's getting in because they're gonna lose to Ohio State most likely.
Yeah.
And I think they get knocked out. And that's why Indiana is Indiana. I mean, they're good Lord.
You see Kevin's question about the Tyler Warren was a fumble, but Henderson's fumble last week wasn't. Literally disgusting. I agree. It was the same.
See, it was pretty much the same thing.
Yeah,
it was the same thing.
But listen, we got Ohio State fans that think it wasn't a fumble, so we can't, you know, we got to watch what we say.
Yeah.
We can't offend the team that won. I still have people talking crap about that game. It's like, dude, it just solidifies my point that Ohio State fans are absolutely delusional. They have no idea how good they have it. They just talk crap to us like, yeah, we beat you again. It's like, do you realize Urban Meyer was going to come to Penn State? He wasn't going to Ohio State. You have no idea how lucky you are you got him. And you're complaining about Ryan Day. You know what I think is going to happen to Ohio State? They're going to fire Ryan Day, and then Ohio State's going to find out real quick that all you are is coaching. That's it. What's special about Columbus, Ohio? No, I mean nothing.
No, it's in Ohio.
They have an Ohio. They have a Arnold Schwarzenegger statue. I don't even think that's up year round. Yeah, but yeah. So you're one. I mean, you're still complaining about Ryan Day, and that guy is like unbelievable, and you're still complaining. So wait until you fire him, then you'll find out real quick.
And the state of Ohio was blue longer than the American people would have liked, so it eventually went red. But
yeah. Yep. Yeah, which is kind of crazy, man.
That's a Michigan metaphor and political. So,
well, you know, Ohio is also one of the heaviest human trafficking states because it's so big and flat. It's almost like Texas, man. It's like so flat. It's just flat. It's a huge state. There's a lot of shenanigans. It's basically Florida with winter weather. But yeah, so just looking at the playoff picture, I mean, I had it up, but I mean, how do you think it plays out? But okay, so let's answer Cost 22's question. What happens to? I mean, we kind of already did, but what happens to the conference losers? Oregon, Ohio State. I think Oregon wins, and Ohio State doesn't really move. Texas, probably Texas, Tennessee. They don't really move. Miami, SMU. One of them will get knocked out most likely. Yeah. I think if Miami loses to whoever in a title game, they're done. I don't think they're getting in. BYU, I mean, yeah, I don't think anybody's losing to BYU in the playoff. Boise State, I mean, if they lose, they're done, and whoever beats them isn't getting in. So I think they're going to win and get in. Bama, they're not getting into the title game, I don't think. Notre Dame, whoever, they don't have a title game, so I don't know. They could. Indiana and Notre Dame are going to be the first to get knocked out, and then possibly Miami. I don't think Boise State's going to lose, so you're looking at Notre Dame, Indiana possibly getting knocked out, and then it'll just be replaced by another SEC team, and then probably Miami or whatever if they lose, conference loser, if you're in the Big 10, SEC, Big 12. But that's the thing, man. Colorado still has a shot, I think, of getting in, don't they? They still have a shot.
They're on a nice little roll for the Big 12 right now. Let's check the Big 12 standings out. Let's see. We should just call them the Little 12 because their conference is garbage. But
I mean, they're not even 12 anymore, are they? Yeah, Colorado has to win out, so see, they got a shot. They got a shot too, and I would like to see Colorado get in.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad about it, but okay. So BYU 5-0, Colorado's 5-1. They only have one loss in the conference. So Iowa State's going downhill. They're 4-2. They were undefeated for a while, fell down a hill and hit their head.
2-8 Kansas or 2-6 Kansas. Good God.
Yeah, it's diabolical. I mean,
thank you guys for tuning in and watching. This episode's blown up too. So
thanks, guys.
Thank you guys for
thanks, guys,
and commenting and keep it rolling.
Yeah, Colorado's gonna have to win out, and they need BYU to lose.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's not like. I'm not trying to throw any shade at BYU, but good God, it's BYU. Man.
Wait a second. Yeah. Utah's beating BYU 21-10 at the half, and Utah is 4-4. They're very bad this year. So BYU might lose tonight. That's big for Colorado.
Then they're absolutely done. Well,
yeah. If they don't pull it together here, they're down 11 at the half. Man.
Well, are they done then? I mean, because SMU you said is undefeated. Yeah, so if Colorado wins out, they get in, and I think they're going to beat... See, here's the thing, man. Colorado, at the end of the day, I'm pulling up the BYU game right now since you said that.
Yeah, it's
but here's the thing. They got Brock Osweiler on there. That's funny. But here's the thing, if Colorado wins out... All right, Brett, pull up the Big 12 standings right now.
Yeah, just...
Because you said SMU, they're ACC.
Yeah.
Pony Express.
So
pull that up.
BCC, yep.
Yeah, the Big 12 you said? Yeah, BYU's 5-0, Colorado's 5-1. So if BYU loses, they're tied with Colorado, and who's Colorado's lost to? It was in the beginning of the season.
They lost to K-State, Nebraska, right?
They lost to Nebraska. They beat K-State. Yeah.
So they have one loss or two?
Oh, no, they have two.
They lost to Utah.
Yeah.
They lost to Utah.
Oh, geez. Yeah, so like Alyssa said, Illicit said, "You guys are awesome." Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Well, Colorado wins out. They get in the championship. Yeah.
Probably.
So pretty much what we're looking at is, God willing, BYU loses, because I hate seeing them compete in college football. I hate it.
The knockoff Penn State uniforms. Get out of here, dude. Got some team,
Yeah, how about it?
some Wish.com knockoff uniforms. Get your out of here.
Got them off of Team U. So,
They're-
man, that reporter looks like she's like zapped out of her mind. She must be cold. You watching this right now?
It was getting cold in the second half in Beaver Stadium. It was getting cold in the second half. But
Yeah,
first
she
half,
looks
good.
cold. But anyway, so just hypothetically speaking right now, if BYU loses, I think they're done no matter what. I mean, because Colorado will, in terms of popularity players, like they're gonna take the reins after that. So
Yeah, Utah scored all their points in the second quarter. That's wild. Sorry, I had this. That's crazy.
Yeah, so Colorado, but here's the thing: if Colorado gets in, like over a BYU, for example, well, I guess they'd be conference champions. So now, just because you're a conference champion, if you're one of the top 4 highest conference champions, you're getting top 4 no matter what.
If you win the championship, you get top 4. So they'll probably go 4 because their conference is butt cheeks. But let's be honest here.
Well, BYU is 4 right now. I mean, they're above, bro. They're above like Alabama, Tennessee, Penn State. I mean, like that's like they're getting cooked by all those teams. You know what I mean? Like there's no way that they're better than at least half the teams that are below them right now in the rankings.
Colorado,
I mean, even Indiana could probably beat BYU.
Yeah, Colorado
State could probably beat BYU.
Colorado just has to beat Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. That's the rest of their schedule. They have 3 games left.
So who did Colorado lose to? Nebraska and who else?
Kansas State. I made a mistake.
Yeah,
That was
Kansas State by
That's what I
3 points. You're right. Yeah, 3 points.
All right. Illicit said. Yeah, that says illicit, right? Yep. And Notre Dame, I think, can take one of the top 4 spots.
Possibly, but they're
Dude, I don't think there's any way they can though. There's no way.
Wait, what is their record?
I'm pretty sure the best that Notre Dame can do. Well, okay, yeah, in the future.
Who's their best?
They're 8-1.
Who's their best win? That's what we got to look at because I don't think it's
Who?
anybody. Notre Dame. They haven't beat anybody.
They beat Navy.
Yeah, which is, I mean,
They beat Louisville, who was ranked at the time,
They beat Texas A&M.
and they beat Texas A&M when they were ranked.
Wait, I'm looking at
they beat the living crap out of Navy, and they beat Texas A&M on the road. Now Texas A&M, they're not good, I don't think, but
yeah, first game of the year. That's the rank win is Texas A&M. Yep.
See, this is why, like, if we beat Ohio State, like, we don't have to worry about any of this crap.
No.
We're literally the 1 seed. Because I think we go to the Big Ten title and we beat whoever, honestly. Because if we beat Ohio State, that would have been their second loss. We're not seeing them again. We're probably running into Oregon in the title game, or Indiana, maybe. And then we're the 1 seed. I mean, that's it. But we didn't and whatever. But, yeah, so... so Illicit's basically saying that next year, the 14 team, that Notre Dame could get a top spot. I don't know how that works. You must know that better than me. Well, I don't know it at all, so you must. You definitely know it better than me. But I'm pretty sure no matter what, the way this is laid out, I know right now. That Notre Dame, the highest they can go is 5. That's the highest they can go because they're not in a conference. So the highest they can go is 5. Which is pretty wild that they could go undefeated and beat the living crap out of every team and still not get into the top 4. That's pretty wild. Yeah. Which, again, like Notre Dame, you guys, like, you're a bunch of arrogant sons of guns. Just join a conference. Join the Big Ten. I mean, West Virginia.
Aren't they in the Big Ten in some sports?
In hockey,
Uh,
In
Notre
hockey,
Dame
for
is
some
Big
reason.
Ten in hockey
Yep.
and basketball. What are they independent in basketball too? They're in the ACC
Oh,
in
yeah.
basketball, aren't they?
I think there's like two
I don't
sports. I
know.
knew hockey was one of them. Yeah.
Hockey's one for sure. I don't know if they're in a conference in any other sport. They could be. I don't think it's basketball. Baseball, maybe. I don't know. Well, we could look that up.
Right.
Google, hello. How are you?
I think it's women's field hockey.
Okay. You know,
Okay.
I mean,
Their schedule's weak, man. I don't know. I mean, they beat Texas A&M first game of the year. Texas A&M got slaughtered by South Carolina last week. That certainly doesn't help them. I'm kind of pissed that Minnesota lost to Rutgers today because Minnesota was making a nice little run here, and you want them to win. So when we beat them, it looks better for us. But them losing to
Right.
Rutgers certainly isn't helping us.
but see, that's the thing. You look at our whole schedule as a whole. I mean, our biggest wins:
Illinois.
Wisconsin, USC in overtime. Tonight, I mean, that was a great win. I mean, the result is 35-6. Anytime you see that, that's a great win, no matter what the circumstances. But then you look at like USC right now, they're 2-5 in the conference, 4-5 overall. They're out completely. Wisconsin, I think, is outside of Illinois is our probably more impressive win because, again, winning in Wisconsin is tough. No matter what anyone says, regardless if the team wasn't ranked or not, that is a tough place to win in. So I totally would say we have some cachet in our schedule. But now, again, Minnesota's game, that's going to really determine a lot too. I mean, we play them in 2 weeks. Who does Minnesota play next week? Do you guys know?
All right.
Let's see.
They lost, right?
Yeah,
they lost to Rutgers. Yeah.
Rutgers,
So
man.
cost
They
22.
play-
Not to change the subject real quick, but cost 22 said they keep all that money, not being in a conference. Notre Dame, because they could use the money, man. It's a small school. Like Notre Dame is a small school. Okay, I checked. I was wrong. Notre Dame could be ranked number 1 and still be the 5 seed. LOL. So conference champs are guaranteed no matter what record. Yeah. So Notre Dame, like, take a hike. You deserve that. But keep Jared, keep going.
Right. But no, I mean, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to tell you, Minnesota has a bye week before they play us, so they can either figure some things out before they play us, or it could hurt them. So we'll see.
But again, that hurts us in the sense like, I was going to say, whoever they play this coming week, it's like if they beat them, then they're going to go to like what would it be? 7-4 or 6-4?
Yeah, they're 6-4 right now. They're actually 6 in the conference. They're 4-3 in the conference play, 6-4 total. So they're respectable overall. They're not bad.
They are. Listen, anybody has a winning record in your conference and your whole like overall record, that's a great thing to see that. So I know that it's important for you to have at least, I would say 2 or 3, like you look at everybody's schedule and you say like who deserves to be there. And yes, with the exception of Bowling Green, we never had any issue with a team outside of Ohio State. So, I mean, you're talking 2 overall games where at the beginning of the season, I guess you were napping. I guess you didn't want to take them seriously. And then you had that 34-27 thriller that never needed to happen. But again, it's just, it always comes down, like you said, we would have to go undefeated in order for us to have any conversation for the big picture. Like, and do we have the opportunity to do that? I mean, it never ceases to amaze me how defense wins championships, but it's like you have to get to the playoffs in order for that statement to be true. And so the whole schedule, it's like you got to do more than everybody else. And I'm not saying that Drew Aller and company can't, but there's just no guarantee that guys like Ohio State, like their ability to do everything against us, like I keep bringing up, it's just abysmal, where it's like you had this going for you, but they figured you out over there, and it's like this had to happen, and everyone had always says like this is how it's always going to be. I just always feel like little brother to Ohio State's big brother. That's just how it always feels like with Penn State, where they just constantly keep getting pushed around, and they just seem like we got something this year. Our defense is the best it's ever been. Like weapon-wise, we have some of the better names I've seen. And I just, again, does it matter? Evidently it doesn't, because it's always about coaching. When you have the players that you have.
Brett, put this guy to bed real quick. Lamont Johnson. I'm not even gonna answer that. I'm just gonna let Brett answer that one.
The Georgia Tech one? They beat Georgia
He said
Tech.
your schedule is. Look at the screen. He says your schedule is trash, and you talk about Notre Dame's schedule.
Our schedule's better than Notre Dame schedule. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
Go ahead, compare them right now.
The hardest team they played was Texas A&M. They got gutted by South Carolina, an unranked team.
Yeah, and you just said okay.
about?
So hold on, I'm going to go through this. We are still going 11-1 in the playoffs. Dangerous team. Enough said. Enjoy the win, Net Nation. Yep, you're right, Kevin. They beat Georgia Tech, who just beat who? The answer is who gives a shit who they just beat. It doesn't matter.
Georgia Tech beat an overrated Miami team.
Dude, they just beat Miami, man. Miami sucks.
They're not good.
They
don't have a defense.
Get off the screen.
An offense today.
Good Lord. Dude, we beat USC on the road. Okay, we beat Wisconsin on the road. We just said that. We just beat Washington. All right. You seriously want to compare Notre Dame's schedule to ours? How about this? If we go head to head with Notre Dame, we're crushing you guys. So, typical Notre Dame fan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever met a Notre Dame fan in person, but
I'll say this, the best team in Pennsylvania is Penn State. The best team in Indiana is Indiana, not Notre Dame. So, I mean, we can just stop it there, right? I mean,
don't do that schedule, but I don't. As much as I love what Indiana's going through right now, schedule
they're up until tonight. They struggled tonight, but they were blowing people out of the water. Michigan must have had a good game plan for them. We were waiting for a hiccup game because everybody is mortal, as we were talking about. Everybody's mortal. Indiana showed that they have less of a pulse.
Are you talking about Miami, who got nailed out by the refs 3 times this year? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, they're a lesser Ohio State when it comes to the refs.
We air and with skull drag.
Did they mean bailed out, not nailed out?
Yeah, bailed out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We are and would skull drag.
Oh boy.
We would beat Notre Dame by 2 touchdowns.
Yes, nailed that.
with Bo Perbula, by the way. Not even Drew.
Lamont Johnson, who are you?
I'm
trying to see his profile picture right now.
Does he get notifications when Notre Dame's talked about? Was his left ear ringing, or what happened there?
Dude, Georgia Tech just beat Miami, who literally like
bailed out so many
USC
times.
is trash, Washington is trash. So is Notre Dame. Shut up. You don't know football. Lamont, are you a Notre Dame fan? Like that's like
this isn't even this is a Penn State Washington podcast today.
You guys could lose to Bowling Green. You guys could lose to freaking Army.
Yeah.
My God, who's your quarterback? Probably some dude wearing number 18.
Riley Leonard, the transfer from Duke.
Is he good? Oh, that kid.
No, he can run. He can't pass the ball. He's not very good. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys probably get beat by freaking Boise State. So
I wanted to mention next year's schedule. We have 2 chances next year with big ranked teams. We play at Ohio State, and we have.
He just said Northern Illinois, what they did.
Exactly. Yeah, Northern Illinois.
Our schedule's trash, bro. 100%.
We didn't lose to Northern Illinois, and we never would. So next year we play at Ohio State, and we have Oregon at home. So that's 2 top 5 teams we play next year. So our schedule's a little bit harder next year, but.
Dude, IMG Academy could beat freaking Northern Illinois, and they're a high school team.
Yeah.
Penn State's signature win is who? We just said, dude. Are you not listening?
Illinois. As of right now.
So are we talking about our signature wins, or are we comparing them to Notre Dame? We just said they lost to Northern Illinois, so you don't have to talk about Notre Dame anymore. We beat USC on the road, who, according to you, is trash, but I guarantee you they beat Northern Illinois at home.
Yeah, losing to Northern Illinois is inexcusable. Like you can't justify that, dude. You can't do it.
USC, Washington, Illinois, those are our signature wins. Who's your signature win? You lost to Northern Illinois at home.
App State would
Did you mention
probably roast
Wisconsin?
them. Wisconsin, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, so you have USC, Wisconsin, Illinois, now Washington. I'm not saying that any of those teams have like the best recruits right now and or the best schedule or whatever it would be. I just know that Penn State will always be in the conversation defensively. Like holding Ohio State to 20, like can you name any other school that has done that this season? I don't think even Oregon held them to 20.
Held them to 30.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, I'd like to think that anyone who has the game plan that Ohio State has against Penn State, again, it's just about ownership. It's just that's the thing. I mean, you said it, Mark. I mean, you try to defend it all you want, but Ohio State owns us. Like that's just what it's always going to be. And until
I mean, why is Notre Dame's fan base so bad? Like I don't get it, man. I don't get it. They're terrible. They really are. But Jared, yeah, Ohio State owns us. Of course they are. Of course they do. It is what it is, man. But if you're gonna be owned by someone, if you're gonna be beat by someone, like if you're making like a car company and you get beat by Elon Musk, it's like, oh well, all right, that makes sense. At least we're not losing consistently to like Maryland or something like that, So.
Well, dude, I mean, you have to remember the Iowa-Penn State rivalry. I mean, those games were really tough to get through on the schedule. I mean, I would go into every game thinking like, all right, this is the one where it's like, we're going to go into it. We're not going to have any problems. And we face them tough every single year. And again, the field goal against 08 and like they just completely spanked us. What was that, 2010 or 11? I remember I went to a buddy's place up at Penn State. He was a student at the time. And I remember he had like his whole house like at this thing. There was like 20, 30 guys surrounding that TV. And we were all like hyped up because it was like we were 6-1 at the time. And Iowa was like 5-2. We had every chance to beat them. And dude, I mean, they just spanked us. It was bad. It was like, oh, no. I mean, it was like 2010 or 11 or something like that. I forget what season, but we just did not look good against Iowa at all that game. So it's in our conference.
Yeah. I remember when I was in school, we lost on the road to Iowa and Bill O'Brien was there. It was a stripe out at Iowa or whatever they called it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the only time they actually coordinated anything in their life there, but. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, you look at the Big Ten Conference, dude. I mean, anyone who's a part of that, I mean, again, that Ohio State is basically, what would you compare it to? Like the Patriots dynasty, like Kansas City Chiefs of the, NCAA of the NFL or whatever. It's like they just have it all. Like they always have the cachet. They always have the reputation. Like everyone knows it. Like, so they're always going to be in the conversation. And then again, you have the other teams like Michigan had their run for a while and then Jim Harbaugh left and they just look like a shell of their former self. But I'm saying, like, there's always like a run in that conference where teams like that are going to always be relevant. I mean, Wisconsin is always like looking like they can recruit linemen. Like they're always on average 350, 360, 6'9", 9'4". I mean, they always look like there's monsters on both sides of the ball. And again, Iowa is defense. I mean, anyone who goes through the Big Ten Conference, like you can't take teams like Minnesota or now Indiana. Like this is now the thing. The Indiana is becoming now this powerhouse because they're just taking care of business. I mean, listen, you talk about schedule. Yes, it's that you can't argue that. Like it's not a great strength of schedule that they've gone through, but they have looked like 38-10. 44-12, like they have been like, that's a huge separation. So it's like, yeah, they're beating every team that they have faced convincingly. Like they're just very, very well established. And whatever this coach is doing with his team, they just look like they are buying in 110%. Like that's what it is about too. I'm not saying we don't have the communication at Penn State like another team does, but I just see like how sometimes it's handled, and it just seems like why did they look like that in that one moment? Like, why was that like so random? Like, it's like all the series is great, and then there's that one play where it's like, and then it's like we question like why they get a holding or whatever kind of call. Like, it just seems like there's always this thing that needs to be more disciplined with these guys. Like, I'm not saying that's the missing piece of like them going on a run, but other teams, it just seems like you look at a team like Ohio State, regardless of like what their penalties are, what Ryan Day doesn't do for an entire season, they always seem like whatever the team wants to do, Ryan Day's doing too, or vice versa. It seems like they're always on the same page. I'm not saying the team is not with James Franklin all the time, but there's just these conservative offensive plays that just make you question, like, did they want to do that? Because it just seems like this was working, and then you go to something else. Like, you were running the ball, and then it was 1st and 10, and then they throw like a random pass play with Tyler Warren, where it was like one of the worst thrown balls I've ever seen from anyone, and he threw it down to his shin. What was that for, Katron Allen? Like, that was just like, it didn't need to happen. Like, these kinds of plays, like, again, you were up 28-6, but still, it's just these things, like, people notice it and they'll take advantage of it, where it's like you don't need to throw in trick plays when you're trying to like look like you're trying to be established.
Yeah, the Tyler Warren, when they gave it to him to pass when they were up 28 or whatever, and he just threw it down into his legs because he wasn't open and there was nowhere else to go with the ball. I didn't agree with that play call. I know what you're saying. Like, there was no reason at that point in the game to do that play. Stuff. Yeah, that was weird. And then
way too gimmicky, man.
Throwing Bo in on that 3rd and 7, like in the red zone, I was like, what are they doing? And I think it ended up working. I forget what happened.
It did.
But I was like, what are they doing, you know? So.
All right, so Ole Miss was 0-20 against top 2 teams. They found a way to win. Look at Vandy getting wins. Not being able to get over that OSU hump is just painful. Lamont said, I tuned in because I have friends who are Penn State fans and wanted to catch up on what happened versus Washington. I mean, thanks for tuning in, man. I mean, you can look at Google, too, instead of coming on here and talking crap. I also tuned in to Penn State, Ohio State. It was pulling for you guys, but sadness. Do you all think it's trying to get Warren the awards? I don't know, man. They get way too gimmicky. Like, it's kind of weird that they do that type of stuff, but
I'm not saying that hurts you in the end, but it's just like you do have to wonder what exactly matters to the coaching staff and the team as a whole. Because again, Penn State has always been in the conversation every year. Like, they're always like top 10, top 5 even. Like, we've seen them in every facet as always being in the conversation for being one of the best programs in the entire nation. And I'm all for them doing that because they do have it. Like, Penn State, what is the draw is Penn State's traditions. Like, what you have, like, everyone talks about what brings people to State College, PA. And again, it's what, 50 restaurants, fast food joints, like, you got a couple bars downtown. I mean, again, I'm not saying you can't come here for the atmosphere, because it is a cool little college town. When you go down to downtown State College, it's a really cool atmosphere. But again, what is the draw? It's the whiteouts. What is the draw? It's just hearing those people just cheering their heads off. Like, well, some of the Loyals fans are in Penn State. You talk about people that would live and die for that whole program, even when they had the inconsistent years, when we went through all the stuff we went through, there was still people that knew that it was all about these types of environments, these types of like gimmicks. Like, it's a very intoxicating thing to want to be a part of something like that. So yeah, there's no real issue with like people wanting to be a part of Penn State, but it's, again, you're competing with a team like Ohio State that it's just like all they do is win. All they do is go to the playoffs, like their national championships, like that's just their MO. And it just seems like the one hurdle we have to get over is what they're always going to have.
To answer the whole Tyler Warren thing, I mean, if you think about it, most of the time when he touches the ball, good things happen. So I don't even think it's about the awards. It's just about the team He had two
Oh.
rushing touchdowns in the red zone. You know what I mean?
There were so many great plays I watched in one of the drives. Like I think it was the second to last drive where you saw Allard step back, and I know we had a lot of 30 and big, like 3 and 6, 3 and 8s. I just remember watching Allard throw to Warren in the middle of the field, watching that cornerback come at him. The dude had to have been the size of his hip. Like that one defender for Washington, he looked like he weighed no more than 180 pounds. And when you watch him hit Warren, it was just like, I mean, Warren just moved. Like, I just didn't even see him react. Like, I didn't even see him, like, have an impact. He just got there and he just brushed him off and he just kept going. Like, when you have a player like that, it just, again, it makes you wonder where he was last week with Ohio State all the time. Because, again, if you're talking about awards, where was he the whole entire game for Ohio State? If you're trying to get an award for the guy, you're supposed to be able to show up and use the best player you have, which at the time was Tyler Warren. I'm not saying no one on the team is like special, but he had a lot of special things happening for him all season. So I feel like you're watching how he wasn't really a part of the game plan for Ohio State, where it's like, that's where you get the awards. If you're doing something big against a team like that, and you're the reason why it's happening, there's no question that Tyler Warren would be getting everything. So I don't know. Again, it's just all about them trying to prove something to themselves, where it's like, if again, it's not an ego thing. It has to be. I mean, it has to be an ego thing where it's like they're constantly making these decisions where it's like, it's obvious this isn't working and you need to find another way to win, but they refuse to get off it because it's like, no, we want to win and beat this team this way. And it just doesn't happen.
So Tyler Warren was getting double teamed too against Ohio State. Like they tried to get him in the ball in the first half, and they knew where they were going with the ball, man. And Caleb Downs, he's a really good safety on Ohio State. You got to give it to him. He was covering Warren pretty well, and
very good.
You know, I don't think Tyler Warren played a bad game. I mean, he had contested catches that were great, and he ran the ball well. But yeah, when you only have one huge threat, I mean, Trey Wallace is good. You know, he's being targeted more. But when you only have one huge threat, like they can take it out of the game because their defense is that good. So I know what you're saying. You could tell they wanted to get him the ball, but he was covered, and if Drew sees they're not open, he's not going to force it, which is smart too because you don't want to throw picks, and you just don't know.
Yeah, Trey had a good game. Ice was 0 for 1, which that was a terrible miss kick, and Franklin iced him. That was really weird. I mean, he called the timeout. Yeah. He called the timeout to look at the fumble, and it's like, or the pass. It's like, Franklin, what are you looking at, man? Like it was incomplete. That's it. Yeah. And you ice your own kicker. Yep. So Ice was literally 0 for 1, which sucks. That was a terrible kick. He should have missed. He should have made it. He missed it. And then Trey, he had a good game. So, but this is another thing that I wanted to talk about was. Yeah, to me, I would have done what OSU did, and if we're going to lose, make someone else beat us. Yeah. But I want to say this, too, about this game is it was on an app, man, and that's just I don't get that. So I think it was you, Brett. You were talking about the way the bidding works. And how does it end up on an app, man? The whiteout.
It was because of the Alabama LSU game, which ended up being a pathetic blowout too. But
I
think app, dude. What the heck?
It does show a lot of disrespect.
It was in IMAX theaters.
You took out one of the best atmospheres, and you basically limited to people who could only afford the app or wanted the app. Because again, if there's one thing I love about where I live and what I do for a living, and I hear all the Penn State fans that come in, I mean, anyone over the age of 55, 60 is like, I am not a streamer. I do not get these things. And I can't believe I'm about to miss this because I don't have anyone in my family who has these so-called streaming things. And yeah, it's unfortunate that it's a lot of people were basically like, I can't do it. Like, if you're a person who is over the age of 60 and they don't care for technology, then it's like, that screws like a good portion of your fan base, where a lot of people who have, again, you're talking about alumni that live and breathe it, like they love it to death. Like, that's one of the things I like so much about when people come into the city and they just talk about what they enjoy, and it's always Penn State, but it's like they have to be here in order to see it. Because again, if that's where it's going to go, I mean, some people are SOL with it. It's just unfortunate.
My dad listened to the game on the radio, so that explained he doesn't have Peacock. You know what I mean? So he said, "Yeah, it was a good game. I heard it on the radio." I was like, "Oh
yeah,
man."
a couple of things about the stream tonight was there was a lack of replays, like Koss said. Didn't see one of the targeting call. Yeah, I didn't either. And so I was watching it on the Peacock app at someone's house, and they had a TV upstairs and a TV downstairs, and the TV upstairs is always ahead of the one downstairs. And it kept falling behind the TV downstairs. So it kept like falling behind it, which makes no sense as to why this app, like we had to keep forwarding it to live because it kept falling behind, which makes no sense. I don't know why it was doing that. I mean, it was just like Peacock was just, it was kind of a terrible showing for Peacock.
Oh, dude, my screen was blurry the entire game.
Yeah,
and Thursday Night Football's gotten better, but it always has issues. Like the picture's always crystal clear, but it's just like it has trouble like loading sometimes, and the audio sucks sometimes. It's like, why have the whiteout on an app? Like we went from arguing it to be on Ohio State at night on ES or whoever, like NBC or whatever, to an app.
Yeah.
How is the whiteout on an app? That just doesn't make sense.
I gotta go to sleep. So
yeah, me too. Me too.
Yep.
But, my work
I'm pretty
here,
tired.
So,
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Brett was at the game and still came on after. We wanted him to do it from the field, but he said he couldn't get on. So
I couldn't get service there, man.
Stevie from the gym, he said when we win the Natty, I'm going to do a live I'm going to tune in live to the show from the field.
Live. Yeah, can't beat that.
Yeah.
He'll have confetti on his camera. But all right, guys.
All right, guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the views. This episode blew up again, and we really appreciate you guys. I hope we can get some of you other guys on here like Lambda and James Williams. It's always good to have you guys on. But yeah, Koss, he's an OG. He's been on here. Like I said, Kevin Chandler, he's an OG. He's been on here for a while. So thank you guys for tuning in. And, once we get the viewership hours up, we passed 500 subscribers on here. And once we get the viewership hours up, we can start getting monetized and stuff. Once we get to 1,000 viewers, that's when you start getting monetized with ad revenue and stuff. But if you guys want to support us, you can support us on Rumble. You can tip us on there and stuff like that. But, yeah. Catch you next week. Thanks, Koss.
Yep.
Hey, Koss.
Jared, Brett, thanks for coming on. And I will see you guys soon.
Always a blast.
Yep. You guys have a good night. Good game.
You guys have a great night.
Oh, yeah.
All right. See ya.
See you guys. Jared, I'll talk to you soon, all right?
Yes, sir.
Later, man.
Later, bud.